Hello everybody, how are you? Hello everybody, how are you? It is time to start our day. It is time to work and play. Hello everybody, how are you? Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we are going to talk about a fairy tale called Jack and the Beanstalk. Have you heard that one before? Do you know that one? It's a fun one. We've got Jack, we've got animals, we've got a cow, we've got a goose, we got a giant, we've got Jack's mother. Those are all the different characters. Oh, and the giant's wife. Those are all the different characters. Those are the people and the animals that make up our story. And we've got our setting where our story takes place. We're going to be at Jack's house. We're going to go into town. We're going to go up into the sky. It's pretty cool. And we have our plot. That's what happens in the story. And we'll learn that as we read the book. So let's start. First, we're going to read the book. Then we're going to retell it. So be listening to the story so you can help me retell it with pictures. Then we're going to try to make our own beanstalk for Jack to climb up. So for that, what I use are some paper towel tubes, toilet paper tube, some green paint or markers, and some cotton balls, and some leaves, and some tissue paper. So if you want to pause and go get those things so we could do it together, you can do that. Or you can watch me do it and do it when we're all done on your own. But for now, let's get started with our story. You ready? If you've never heard the story, listen up. It's a good one. If you have, listen and see if this is different than the story you've heard before. There's lots of ways to tell different fairy tales, and this might be one you haven't heard before. So let's listen in and find out. The book is called, of course, Jack and the Beanstalk. So first of all, there's Jack. He's a little boy. And this is the beanstalk. A beanstalk, if you're not sure what that is, it's a plant. And we're going to find out how it grows in just a second. Okay. Once upon a time, usually fairy tales start out with those words, once upon a time. And they often end with the words, and they lived happily ever after. So if you hear those two things, you're pretty sure you're listening to a fairy tale. Once upon a time, when giants still stomped the land, a widow lived with her son, Jack. The widow was too sick to work, and one day, when they ran out of money, she sent Jack to sell their cow. She said, "I'm too weak to take the cow to town. You must go and sell her." See if you guys can see the pictures if I do that, and I'll turn it so I can see the words. How's that? Now, Jack was brave and kind-hearted, but he didn't always use his head. That means he was not always thinking. So his mother told him to think carefully before selling the cow. Jack promised he would. He was halfway to town when a man stopped him. "Jack," said the man, "I'll give you 5 magic beans for your cow." Jack thought, how could the stranger know my name? And how can he know that I'm selling the cow? He must have magic powers. Then the beans could be magic too. He traded the cow for the beans and went home, very pleased with the deal that he made. How do you guys predict his mom is going to feel when she finds out that he didn't get money but only 5 beans? Let's see. His mother was not pleased. She was not happy. "You were tricked, you silly boy," she cried. "There are no such things as magic beans." Angrily, she threw the beans out the window. "Now we have no cow and no money," she said. "What shall we do?" The next morning, something tickled Jack's nose and woke him up. Surprised, Jack saw that a huge leaf had poked in his window. He pushed it away and he peeked outside. A thick beanstalk stretched up, its top hidden by the clouds. "They were magic beans," he whispered. Without waking his mother, Jack started climbing the beanstalk. His arms and legs began to ache, but he forgot about them when he saw the castle. You guys want to see the castle? Look at what he found when he got to the top of the beanstalk. Very exciting. Jack knocked on the castle door. A giant woman opened it. "Who's there?" she asked, peering around. "I don't see very well, so speak up." Jack wasn't sure that he wanted to see him, that he wanted her to see him, but he was very hungry. "I'm down here," he said. "Do you have any work that I could do for food?" The giantess picked up Jack by his collar and plopped him on the huge stone floor. "Start scrubbing," she ordered. Thud, thud, thud. Arg, said the woman. It's my husband. Hide in the cupboard so he doesn't eat you. Scrub the floor later. Oh, my goodness. What is that? The giant came in and took one sniff and said, Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread. Don't be silly, his wife said. You smell breakfast. Eat while it's hot. After breakfast, the giant opened his bags of gold. He began counting the pieces, but fell asleep after 135,091 pieces. Wow, he's got a lot of gold. Just a little gold could feed my mother and me for a long time, Jack thought. He snatched a small bag and climbed quickly down the beanstalk. Uh-oh, he took the giant's gold. Jack's mother was delighted, but when she heard where Jack had gotten the gold, she hugged him tight. Those giants robbed us of that gold and 2 other treasures, she said. Promise me that you won't go back for more gold. Jack promised. I hope Jack does what he promised. Let's find out. Uh-oh, he didn't. The next morning, Jack climbed the beanstalk again. I promised not to go back for gold, the boy thought as he climbed. But I didn't say I wouldn't go back for something else. After all, it was ours. Jack banged on the castle door. The giantess squinted her eyes and peered down at him. Are you the thief who was here yesterday? She demanded. I'm no thief, Jack said. I'm a hard worker, though, and I expect to be paid for it. The giantess picked up Jack by his collar and plopped him in front of a huge tub of dirty dishes. Start washing, she ordered. Here we go. Can you say it with me? Thud, thud, thud. Arg, said the giantess. It's my husband. Hide in the cupboard so he doesn't eat you. Do the dishes later. The giant came in, took one sniff, and said, Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive? Yeah, interrupted his wife. You smell breakfast. Eat while it's hot. Ooh, look at that picture. Something new, a new character for us. The giant grumbled, but he ate. Then he got a goose from a crate in the corner. He put the goose on the table and roared, Lay! The goose honked twice, then waddled back to its crate. On the table was a golden egg. The giant tossed it up and down like a ball. Then his eyes began to hurt from looking at the shiny gold, so he shut them. As soon as the giant fell asleep, Jack grabbed the goose and quickly slid down the beanstalk. See him going? His mother was waiting at the bottom of the beanstalk. She was very angry with Jack. I didn't exactly promise not to go up again, Jack explained. You knew that you weren't supposed to, said his mother. Go to your room. Jack knew that he shouldn't, but the next morning, before his mother woke, he climbed to the castle. Instead of banging on the door, he crawled in the kitchen window when the giantess wasn't looking. The giant's wife hid me in the cupboard, Jack thought. I'll hide somewhere else. He climbed into the wash tub. Soon he heard, ready? Thud, thud, thud. Uh-oh. The giant came in, took one sniff and said, Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell. You certainly do, interrupted his wife. That little thief probably sneaked in again. He always hides in the cupboard. But Jack wasn't there. The giant ate his breakfast. Then he got out a golden harp. Play, he roared. Can you guys spy Jack in this picture before we turn the page? You see where he's hiding? There he is. Look at Jack's size compared to the giant's size. The harp sounded like a sparkling stream pouring over pebbles. The lady of the harp sang a song with no words. Jack was entranced. The music put the giant to sleep. Jack grabbed the harp, but he almost dropped it when it screamed, Master! Master! The giant woke and thudded after Jack. He finally found Jack. Jack half scrambled, half slid down the beanstalk. "Mother!" he yelled. "Get the axe!" Jack's mother saw the giant close behind Jack. She grabbed the axe and whacked the beanstalk. "Jump, Jack, jump!" she hollered, and whacked again. Jack jumped to the ground. He snatched the axe and whacked the stalk until it snapped in two. Kaboom! The giant and the beanstalk hit the ground together, and that was the end of the giant. Jack, his mother, the goose, and the harp lived happily ever after together, except for the time that Jack went downtown to buy a pig. But that's another story. So we started our book with Once Upon a Time, and we did end with They Lived Happily Ever After. There's our fairy tale. And oftentimes in fairy tales, you have giants or ogres like we did in this one. So that was the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. And like I said, I'd like you guys to help me retell it now. So I'm going to pull my tray over here. Oops. Let me grab this because we're going to need this to make our beanstalk in a minute. Okay, let's pull this over here. Now, let's think about it. Our story started with who? Who did we start our story with? We had Jack, and we had Jack's mother. Do you remember what Jack's mother asked Jack to do right at the beginning of our story? They didn't have any food. They didn't have any money to buy food, and Jack's mommy was sick. She couldn't take care of the cow anymore, so she said, "Hey, Jack, I need you to take the cow, and I need you to go to town." I'll put mommy up here. "And I need you to sell the cow." And I'll bet you Jack might have been kind of sad. If I had to sell my animals, I would be sad. So Jack is walking along. He's walking along, and do you remember he ran into a man who he was surprised knew his name. So he thought, this man must be magical. So when the man said, "I will trade you your cow for some magic beans," what did Jack say? He's like, "Oh, yes, absolutely. I'll take magic beans." So Jack was really proud of himself. He was excited. He runs back to his house. He gives the cow away to the man. And he comes and he tells his mom, says, "Hey, Mom, look, I got these magic beans." Now, was Mommy happy? She sad, or was she angry? Do you remember? I think she was angry, wasn't she? And she took the beans and she threw the beans out the window. She just tossed them out the window and she went to bed. Jack went to bed too, but while he was sleeping, he was woken up by a leaf tickling his head. Do you remember that? He looked out his window and there was a giant beanstalk. Have you ever grown anything in your garden that is that much bigger than you? What did Jack start to do? He saw the giant beanstalk and he started to climb up the beanstalk. And when he got to the top, do you remember what he saw? He got above the clouds and he saw a giant castle. So, what did Jack do when he saw the giant castle? He knocked on the door, didn't he? Who answered? Do you remember? It was the giantess. It was the wife, the giant's wife. She answered. And Jack said, "Can I work for food?" So she put him to work. But then we heard the thud, thud, thud. So she hid Jack in the cupboard. Jack was hiding. We'll hide Jack down here. When the giant came in. And we remember what his words were? "Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman." But the wife kept Jack hidden. And the giant started to count his gold. And I just realized I don't have any gold. He started to count his gold. And then he fell asleep. So Jack took some gold and he went back down and he told his mom and he showed his mom the bag of gold. And now Mom was happy. She was excited to have the gold, wasn't she? But she warned Jack. What did she tell him not to do anymore? She said, "Jack, don't do it. Don't climb that beanstalk. Don't go up there." But the next morning, oh, Jack, next morning, there he goes, back up there. And this time, he talked to the giantess again. And this time, we heard thud, thud, thud. Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. And this time, the giant got out his goose who laid a golden egg. So Jack, this time, he took the bag of gold last time. This time, he took the golden egg and he went back down and he brought that one home. Did Jack listen to his mom and not go up a third time? He sure didn't, did he? Jack went up a third time. So the next day, Jack goes up, but this time he hid. Remember, he hid from the giantess and the giant. He went back up, but they both smelled him. They both thought he was there, but they couldn't find him because he was hiding. So then, do you remember what the giant got up next? First, he had his bag of gold. Then he had the goose that laid the golden egg. Then he had his golden harp that played beautiful music and made him fall asleep. Did Jack steal that too? He did. Jack took the golden harp and he went down the beanstalk, but he wasn't alone. As he was going down the beanstalk, who was coming down behind him? The giant was, remember? And Jack yelled, "Mom, Mom, help!" So his mom got an axe. She chopped the beanstalk down. It fell down. The giant fell down, and he was never heard from again. One other thing I absolutely love about fairy tales is they're fun to act out. So now that we've heard the story and you help me retell the story, when we're done here today, go act it out. Go outside and climb. If you have a swing set, climb on something. Have your neighbors, your friends, your brothers, your sisters, your grown-ups help you act out the story. Let's go through the characters one more time. We have Jack and the mom. We've got the giantess. We've got the giant. We've got the man on the road. And then we have the animals. We have the cow and the goose. You'll need a pot of gold and a harp. And you can make your own. You can pretend and make your own. And then you can act it out. You can make a castle somewhere, and Jack can knock on the door, and the giant can come. Acting out fairy tales is a lot of fun. And one of the fun things about it is you can change it if you want to. You can write your own story. Same characters, and you can write your own story. So that's something you guys can go do. But like I said at the beginning, we're also going to make our own beanstalk today. And what I chose to do was I took 2 paper towel tubes, and I've already painted mine green. You can use markers, you can use paint. I'm going to see if I could try to get them together. That one doesn't look very even. It's a beanstalk that goes all the way up into the sky, so it's going to have to be tall. So I have 2 that are together. If you have maybe a wrapping paper tube that your grown-up is done using, those are nice and long. You can just use that and paint it green. Now to make mine stay together, let's see if it would just stay together on its own. What do you think? Not looking good. To make mine stay together, I'm just going to put some tape right where they connect. I'm going to put that right there. Hey, there we go. It's already staying together. I'm going to put one more piece on this side. Okay, so that's painted already. Now that's my stalk. That's most of my stalk. I want to add some things to it. The book that we read, the beanstalk, had leaves on it, didn't it? So I have some leaves that I had on hand. I'm going to put a little glue on there, see if I can get it to stick on. If you don't have any leaves, I'm going to show you some other things you could do. I've got a leaf on that one. I've got another kind of leaf right here. I'm going to put that one on, a little bit more glue. Let's see, maybe you don't have leaves lying around, but maybe you have some paper that you can cut leaves out of, and you can put them on your beanstalk. Or maybe you have something like this. I had some green streamer paper. So I'm just going to take some and I'm going to rip it, and then I'm going to crumple it up a little bit so it almost looks like it's going to be like a little bud or a berry. This time, oh, I've got some wet paint here still. I wonder if that will stick, if I won't need some glue. If I just put mine there. Whoop! I broke my stalk. My tape didn't quite hold. Let me see. Let me put it back together here. So I've got my stalk, I've got some leaves on it, and I could keep going. I could add some more leaves, but I want to add something else at the top first. I'm going to give it a little part. I have just this little roller, and I'm going to use a clothespin. We're going to paint this one together. I'm going to use a clothespin to hold it. I've got some green paint here. Let me get my paintbrush. And I'm just going to paint it like this all the way around. Now, while the paint is wet, what was at the top besides the castle? When he got to the top of the beanstalk, he had to go above the clouds. So we got to have some clouds. I'm going to put some clouds on mine, and I'm hoping that my wet paint will hold my clouds. Now, what do you think we should use as clouds? They're white, they're soft, they're fluffy. So I, of course, thought of cotton balls. So, oh, look at that, it's going to hold. I'm going to make this the top of my beanstalk by putting this on there. And then you know what I might do? I might just use the clothespin that I was using for painting and see if it'll let me put it on like that. Nah, I think I'll have to tape it still. So I'm going to tape mine on there, and that's my beanstalk. And then I still have my Jack, from, you can see that, can't you? I still have my Jack from my story. Do you think I should add him? Let's see if it's gonna hold. It stayed. That's another thing you could do is try to make a really tall beanstalk. How many things can you stack? How many toilet paper tubes can you stack before your beanstalk tips over? That would be a fun thing to try too. Come here, Jack. We're gonna put you up here. You can stick out the top up here. I'll put some tape on him and have him stay there. So you guys, you can go retell the story to somebody. You can act out the story, and you can make your own beanstalk, whether you do it with paint and as a craft, or if you do it as something to try to see how tall you can get it before it tips over. Then you can even measure it with blocks, with a ruler, with whatever you'd like, and see how tall you got your beanstalk to be. Thanks for joining me today to hear about Jack and the Beanstalk. I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.